Hey everybody, it's Tim. Welcome to TTT Urban Homestead, Sunday the 13th. Everything looking good. It's nice and hot. It's been 90, above 90 pretty much the last week. Raised up the mower because don't want anything to dry out. But it's been raining still. Every 1 or 2 days we get quite a bit of rain. But still need to water like these bags because they dry out pretty quick. So if you're using the bags, make sure you're keeping an eye on moisture. That's the chamomile. And I got some more aromas going. And the little baby watermelon still hanging in there. More chamomile. And then over here on the food plot by the fence, last year, like I said, it was flowers, red, white, and blue. This year we're doing more food type plants. We got some green beans. They're doing okay. They've produced quite a few green beans. So still picking them. And then the purple or red amaranth, green amaranth. Haven't eaten or harvested any of this yet, but I'm going to try that out. Got we actually picked a couple eggplants. I'll throw a picture in here of the eggplants and okra that we picked in the last few days. There's another, like a little baby okra. These plants are doing very well in the ground, along with the sunflowers. And we got another row of peppers down here. I'm going to actually trim down these marigolds a little bit because you can actually cut marigolds back and they just grow back anyway. Give these peppers a little more sun. They are getting the shade kind of in the afternoon, and I noticed in the back, the peppers and stuff that grow in the back, they're fine with the shade in the afternoon around 4 or 5 o'clock. In the back, I have a squash plant, but I don't know, it just seems it'll be popped up in the morning, and then I don't know if it's just getting too much sun, maybe, something like that, I don't know. Might have to try that in a different location. Anyway, this is doing well. And I do have some things on the fence, like some more cucumbers and the melon plants. So mainly cucumbers. They go down the line here, and I'm trying to check them. The melon plants seem to take a little while. I believe this is a melon plant. Yeah, there's actually a little melon on there, but they take a little while to kind of start producing. That's fine. That'll be nice if there's a lot of little chamois melons here in a month or so. Here's the okra raised bed. Been picking from that pretty regularly, about every day, every other day. Eggplants coming out looking good. I got one plant that's kind of pitiful, and I might just replace that one. Go ahead and start another one and replace it. We got plenty of time. This one I planted late. Seems to be doing okay. Strawberry patch pretty much going through its stage now of reproducing runners. They're all coming out of the side here. Alright, I'm going to head to the back. Alright, in the back, got our cucumber area now. I have started hitting this with some neem oil. Just trying to get a little more extended season out of the cucumbers, but you're always going to battle the bugs and the powdery mildew and things like that. So just be aware of that. Get your crop. Do some more plants if you want. You've got plenty of time. I do have onions down here. Doesn't seem to be doing so well, but we'll see what happens with that. And the tomato, well, green bean raised bed, still producing green beans. I'm losing some plants, but also now is a good time to replant things, because you pretty much have in our zone, you could grow 2 seasons of everything, basically 2 crops, brand new plants if you want, and you'll definitely be picking again way before frost. You might even be able to get a third. So I've got a couple plants that are doing well. Been really keeping an eye out for any type of the hornworm, because the hornworm pretty much wiped out my other plants, and I'll show you what I'm doing about that. But we've got tomatoes, and right now it's enough to, I'm not really preserving a lot, pretty much using them. And the area over here is the sweet potatoes. They're doing well in 10-gallon bags. And also the Roma tomatoes. Got to replace a couple of these plants. Getting a few of those. In the greenhouse I've got, so what I've done is I've got 3 more bags of vine tomatoes, and if you take a look, this is what I call a clone. These are clones, so they're not from seed, they're just I snip a sucker plant off of one of the tomato plants, and then I'm going to put them in the soil. I did not put them directly in the sun for a couple of days. I actually had them down below at the bottom over here, just to kind of let them get rooted up. But they're doing very well. So these are replacements tomatoes, vine tomatoes. And then I also have, you're not going to believe this, I have a volunteer Roma, and I've actually got Romas coming out. This thing's laying on the ground, and it's the biggest Roma plant I got. It comes in over here underneath the edge of the tent, so I'm actually just putting some water on the outside edge there to give this plant some water, but I'm actually getting tomatoes out of this. This is a peanut plant, volunteer peanut plant, so I'm just going to let it go. But it's from peanuts that we feed to the birds and the squirrels or whatever, and it must have fell in here. But these are replacement Roma plants. They were seeds transplanted into these bags. So I'm gonna probably keep them in here and see how they do with a little bit of shade, a little bit of sunblock, not a lot, probably 80% sun and plenty of heat for sure. But just keeping on them a lot more for any type of pest and bugs. I'm going to be using the neem oil pretty regularly, every 3-4 days, once a week. Looks like we've got jalapenos popping up. This is the pepper area. And these peppers, if you notice, all of these peppers are the same, came from the same group that I planted in the front. So under this condition, they seem to be doing very well. They like the heat, but maybe not so much sunlight, direct sunlight. So if you want to try something, do grow any type of peppers. Definitely give them afternoon shade. If you're going to give them full sun, maybe give them afternoon shade, like starting around 3 or 4 o'clock, so they'll do better. But making sure these things are fed and watered. If you're growing in bags like this, you definitely got to add some type of supplements. I actually use Miracle Grow once a week, exactly according to directions. And of course, the soil that I use is compost, so plants usually do pretty well. Just don't overdo it. If you use any type of, even if you use organic fertilizers, you don't want to overdo it. Just do the recommended amount. All right, coming out to the back. Let's check out the onion patch. I've cleaned out. It's pretty much went in. Instead of pulling weeds and grass out, I actually snipped the weeds and grass. So I still got some pretty good production going on with the onions. Let these bulbs form. And they're like anything else. They do want some moisture. And of course the raised bag strawberries looking good. That's my basil. I'm snipping it. As you can see, once you start seeing the flowers and stuff, just snip it down. You can even snip it down to here, as long as you see some growth coming out of these little branches, like little sucker plants coming out. That this side, you can snip it down to that and be fine. All right, the celery is looking real good. We've been picking a little bit of it, but I'm eventually going to need to pick it all and maybe even store it, a little bit of it. Last week I checked. Yeah, these are drying out. So once I see the birds coming in or whatever's coming in and eating my seeds, it's radishes. That one doesn't have any. Maybe I missed it. Hold on. Find one that's really dried out. This one looks like it has hopefully something in it. Oh, I think I dropped it. I think it fell out underneath there. Well, if I don't get any seeds, then I'll just have to buy some more. That's how it goes. Last year I had good seeds though. I'll try this again because I think I'm dropping the seed out when I crack it open. Yep, there's a seed in that one. If you can see it, it's right in there. So when you do this, you want to make sure you don't drop the seed. Oh, okay, there it is. Yep, there's a seed in my hand right there. Right there. But that's radish seeds. Little update on the pool, looking good. Been pretty much getting in it every single day. So we like to enjoy that. Alright, well, I have started some more tomatoes, some yellow tomatoes, because we like the yellow tomatoes. Carla really liked the yellow tomatoes. So I'm going to do an update in there in the nursery, since I do have a couple things going in there. And get back with you in just a minute. Okay, this is Tim. Just doing a little update on harvest, and instead of the nursery where I usually start my seeds, I brought them out here just kind of show you how I do it. But I'm not showing you how I put the seeds. Are pretty straightforward. You put the seeds in. You can make your own mix, or I actually use the Miracle Grow seedling mix, and that also gives them a little nutrition once they start growing. Usually when I start out, let me show you real quick. I use these. I don't like to use the big giant trays because I like a little more control of individual plants. These specific ones are yellow tomatoes. We actually had those in the bags, and they're the ones that pretty much got wiped out by too much moisture, disease, and hornworm. So I'm redoing them. I did not get a clone from one of those plants, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. But what I normally do is I'll put the seeds in. I actually mix water with the seedling, the soil mix, and it's not soaking, but it is damp. And then I put the seeds in, put more mix on top of them, and then I do put a little bit of water on the top, but I don't overdo the water. So the water this is not soaking in water in the tray. It's empty, but it's all damp. And once you put if you put a dome on it, it keeps all that moisture in there. All right. And there's even vents on the top, but I don't open the vents. If I need to open the vent, that means I'm just taking the lid off. So once I see anything like this right here, I'm taking the lid off, because right now this is enough plants. I did 12, but I'm probably only gonna do 5. So, and if these other ones pop up, they do. They don't. This was done from a tomato that I collected from the yellow tomatoes, and I actually scraped out the seeds. I put them in a jar for 2 or 3 days and let it kind of ferment in just a jar. It can be a small jar, like a little quart, not quart, half quart size. Doesn't matter. You put the tomato, the liquid inside the tomato that holds the seed, you put it in there, let it kind of ferment, and then that finishes the seeds off. You want to do that with a tomato that's really ripe. I mean, just almost overripe. It can be a rotten tomato, because that's really, once it starts rotting, that is where the seeds are kind of finishing off. And then I let them dry out. I strain them out, rinse them off, let them dry out completely. Use paper. I use even printer paper. I'll put them in there and kind of fold it up and let it dry out completely. This other one is calendula that a friend had given me several plants, but I did not get them transplanted in time, and something wiped them out. Some kind of bug just ate all the leaves. So I actually found a bunch of seeds, so I am doing some more of those too. So he'll be interested in how that turns out. But that's going to be some calendula. I did do some harvesting. Garlic was very pitiful. Pretty sure I didn't plant it right. Need to do that in the fall. And even winter here, you need to wait till probably December and maybe even January to do garlic. But I planted the garlic in April, so it didn't do the right thing. Eggplants are coming out pretty good, and then some Roman tomatoes and even a little green pepper. But what I was talking about, let me show you this sucker. If you have a vine tomato plant, and you'll see where I actually cut a sucker off, like right here. Usually they come out right in the middle of a branch. But here's a very good example. This right here is a good sucker. Maybe not quite big enough for me, but what you would do, if you can see the little hair sticking out of that, you can pinch this off, and then tear the leaves off the bottom, just take off these leaves like that, right? And then you can stick that in water. This is the best method I've done. You stick it in water for a few days, like this. I mean, this is not usually the container. This is a coffee cup. And somebody's going to recognize this little coffee cup I'm using. I need to change this out to a jar. But this is one I've had in for a couple days, and you can already see. Let me do this against a background. You can see the little hairs coming out of the stem, and eventually it'll form roots. Now this is a pretty big sucker. So I mean, really, I've done it with pretty large suckers, and it works. And then this will be, I will take, once it forms the roots, I will take and put it in a bag, or in a bag, and then don't put it straight in the sun. You're gonna give it a few days in kind of shady condition. It can be warm, like I've got stuff going in the greenhouse, but give it a few days for those roots, that small roots. Now you're gonna have to keep it wet because it's used to being damp like this. So if you take that and just put it in some dry soil, the leaves are just gonna curl over and die. So you'll need to give it water 3 or 4 days in a row, 2 or 3 days in a row, and then kind of tap her off the water and see how the plant does. If it continues to stand straight up, it doesn't wilt over, then you know the roots have grabbed in, and then you can start putting it in the sun. Anyway, just an update on a little bit of the growing process, seed to harvest to seed. Basically, that's the concept. So even all of these little garlics, these are now seeds. If I wanted to use them, each one of these garlics, each one of these cloves is actually a seed for garlic. So either I use these garlic or just save them for next year. But if you break all that up, that's actually quite a bit of garlic. So same with the eggplant. Usually at the end of the season, I let a couple eggplants just kind of go, and they get fully mature. They even rot a little bit, and then I get the seeds out of them. So it's kind of the same process that would happen if it fell on the ground. Think about it that way. If it, either it produces the seed on top with a flower, such as, lettuces and things like that. The lettuces over here this is my Paris Cost lettuce, and that's what it does when it gets too warm. It bolts and produces the seed. And the seeds are in, if I shake this, I'm actually, let me see. Yep, they're very tiny, but there is seeds in my hand, probably 1, 2, 3 or 4 seeds in my hand. So I'll just bring a paper bag out here. I'll put this whole head in the bag and just shake it. And that'll be my seeds for next year. All right, well, hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment, share, and we'll see you soon.